Now, time for an amazing story that's going to take you to another dimension. So this is all about Bruce Roberts from Mapley, who had a life-changing experience that has actually helped turn him into a writer. Bruce is on the line now. Hello.
Hello, Mark. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Just talk me through what's been going on. So this is a serious thing. You were seriously ill, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Last February, ended up in accident emergency, and I was just acting like I was drunk. And so they wheeled me in and said, well, we're going to do a brain scan. And one of the doctors said, I'm not sure we're going to find anything. And I was going, so is that a joke or is that, a serious thing? So anyway, they scanned my head and said, I'm really sorry, you've had a couple of brain hemorrhages. So I was just acting like, as I say, I was drunk and wasn't really sort of able to walk straight and things like that. And it was all a bit of a mess. My wife was really stressed, but of course, you know what it's like. Well, you wouldn't know what it was like on a Friday night, of course, because I'm sure you don't ever drink sort of to excess.
That's correct.
Yes, but the truth may be out there. So I was just sort of out of control, if you like, to some extent. So I wasn't worried at all. But so there I was for the next month and a bit, lying flat, and my neurologist said to me, he said, we need to fix you. He says, and one of the treatments is you've got to drink coffee. But he says, you've got to drink 12 cups of coffee a day.
Wow.
I know.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. So it's kind of, forgive the joke, 0 to Cafe Nero with 3 litres of coffee a day. So it was a bit too much. And I hadn't drunk coffee for 20 years. And so I was starting from, none at all. And that was part of the treatment. It's just, apparently what happened was I sprung a leak in my spine, and the fluid that makes your brain float all sort of leaked out into my body. It didn't leak out into the world outside. It's not like Tom and Jerry and you got this trail of liquid falling in you. But I had intracranial hypertension. Yes, when your spinal pressure drops, and coffee fixes it in the same way as it coffee fixes alcohol. So
right,
but it took an awful long time.
Yeah, I've never heard of coffee being prescribed. Was that actually on prescription?
No, it wasn't on prescription.
Okay.
It was just, this is what the neurologist said, and I was being, the nurses would come in and say, right, coffee, and I had to have coffee, as say, regularly throughout the time I was there. But it's difficult. It's difficult drinking anything lying down.
Yeah.
And anything I could get up for was the sort of things that you might get up for the sofa for, But we won't go back to the sofa.
No,
one.
well, no. Let's not go there. No, I was just trying to work out which is the most expensive at the moment: prescription charges or coffee. There's maybe a sideline in there, which we'll maybe leave to one side. But once you'd recovered, then with the help of coffee and being laid on your back flat for quite a long time and hospital treatment, etc.
Yeah.
How much would you say your personality has changed?
It's the same question my neurologist asked, and it's something they do look for when people have had brain injuries, and it has changed. There is a me from before and a me from afterwards. The little voice that you have inside your head, that's kind of not changing. It's still nagging me now. But that was the odd thing when I was in A&E and I couldn't operate the phone and they were asking me my name. And I was just going, hey, it's Bruce, and I got my phone in front of me. My name's written on the phone. It's just like, I couldn't remember my last name. And inside, my little voice was going, you know how to do this. Stop mucking about. But the outside me just couldn't do it. But yeah, the personality change is not huge. People think I'm a bit stranger. And they said I was quite strange beforehand anyway. This is from a guy who's got a railway in his back garden. So
that's fine. That's not strange at all.
And that was before. So yeah, there has been some sort of personality. I'm messier. I admit that I maybe didn't think I was this messy previously. But yeah, so my office looks like a bomb site. But then mostly that's down to the book. So there's notes everywhere, and just post-it notes and bits of paper and everything.
How did you find the process of writing a book? Because presumably you've not done anything like this before.
No.
So how was it?
So it was. We went to MCon sort of 5 years ago now at the Motorpoint Arena, and I'd written some characters that we thought we might do a comic for, and it was just outlines of characters, but we got dressed up as these characters. And but really, that was the only thing I'd done, apart from back in the old school days, when we were doing our O levels. That's how old it was. Some of them, and it was nothing really that I'd done. And then I started having these wacky dreams. I mean, really intense. Some of the most vivid dreams that you really sort of, as if when you wake up, you think, where am I? Because I was just there, and now I'm in a hospital bed. What's going on? And so they were so I'd start making notes on the phone. You've got the voice recorder thing. So I'm whispering away to my phone underneath the covers, hopefully not waking up the people next to me. And so I've got all these notes, and then I get home and I'm carrying on doing that because, I couldn't sort of sit up to do any writing or anything like that to start off with. And my wife's sort of getting, can you go and transcribe this for me, And I just started to write down the dreams because I thought, well, they're wild, but they were the characters that I created for MCon, but in this real world that was just, my brain had sort of gone pop. It had sort of because it had the brain hemorrhages, it was finding its way round. It's a bit like when you shut the motorway down, and you all go down the B road and you find these little villages that once upon a time people used to drive through because that was like normal before the motorway came. And so your brain's discovering new ways around the blockage on the motorway. And it's sort of going, right, okay, so you may have remembered this from years ago, but we're going to bring this one back again. This is a memory you've had parked. And so I started to write stuff down, and then it started to become like a little short story. And I said to my wife, do you reckon we could have a short story out of this? I said, or is it just the ravings of some lunatic mind that's had a couple of brain hemorrhages? And she's going, well, actually, it does seem like a story. And it just kept coming. And so I just kept writing. And here I am, 103,000 words later, and there's this story that obviously I've had to do a bit of hard work, it's not just all been just write down what I've seen in the dream. It's obviously got to tie some of the nonsense together. But yeah, so we've got, 75 characters that are going to go into future books, and lots of really creative ideas. But I didn't just want to write a book because I'm from the learning world, so everything I do is on the internet. And the idea of just having a book wasn't enough for me. I wanted a book that would come to life. I wanted a bit like if you had a radio program that you could have video coming out of the radio. And so I wanted this book to have interactive experiences, video and music and poetry and art all coming out the book. So I've used QR codes. So if you've got the book and you've got your mobile phone or a tablet device or something like that, scan the QR code, takes you off to the internet to this material that I've created, and you've got this additional alternative dimension. Here's your other dimension again.
Wow.
So you've got your book, but you've got all the amazing stuff.
Yeah. Well, look at you down with the kids. And what about this? I'm intrigued about the title. So it's called the Godot Orange. Why?
Yeah.
What's that about then?
That just one of the dreams. There was this work of art in this dream, and everybody was calling it the Godot Orange. And so I thought, okay, well, part of the story, it's a bit of a romp, sort of going through the 1970s and unstealing this work of art, and it has to be returned to somewhere where clever stuff can happen. And that was what the thing was called. And I thought, well, it's daft enough for a book. So that was just going to be the working title. And I was going to come up with a proper name, but I just couldn't come up with a better name. So I just called it that. And it's interesting because I was going to use artwork by René Magritte because he's a real fantastic surrealist artist. and asked permission from the Magritte family in Belgium, because they got, you could ask for permission to use the art. And they said, yeah, but you've got to talk to the UK team. So I went to the UK team and they went, oh, no, you can't do that. So I thought, well, I know what, I'll do my own. So I did my own art. So a load of artworks now spread up the wall for different parts of the story. But the Godot orange stayed. And when I drew the picture, I realised you've got this orange in the middle of this fountain, and there's a couple of people dangling their feet, a bit like Waiting for Godot. There's a couple of people waiting for something to happen.
Gotcha.
So, and the story is about what happens to the painting, because the painting's waiting for something to happen.
Right, I understand. Good stuff. Hey, listen, we'll have to leave it there because we want a cliffhanger, and therefore we want people to, get a hold of the book. Bruce, good luck with it. He's going to be launching this, by the way, at MCon. We were talking about MCon, actually, just the other day on the show. That's happening at the Arena at the end of the month, 28th, 29th of May, and Bruce will be there launching his novel. It's called The Godot Orange. Fascinating story all round. Thank you, Bruce. Good luck.